Welcome to Beautifully Consumed. I'm Chelsea Leigh, owner of Chelsea Leigh Jewelry and your host. I'm just a girl that decided to go for it, and now I'm a successful business owner. But there's more to life than business, and that's why I found myself on a mission to love and become my most true self. I'm so excited to have this podcast as a space where we can do that together. You're in the right place if you're ready to be wildly dedicated to finding your purpose, becoming your most true self, and learning what it means to be beautifully consumed by living a life that is undeniably yours. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Beautifully Consumed. I am your host, Chelsea Leigh. Thank you so much for being here today. In today's episode, we are going to talk about the power of your subconscious mind. We're going to talk about manifestation, speaking things into existence, words of affirmation, all of that fun, woo-woo, spiritual type of stuff. But it's actually not all that crazy or made up. There's actually some real science behind the power of your brain and especially the power of your subconscious mind. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to share with you some of my personal stories and experiences with manifesting and affirmations and speaking things into existence. I have some really great stories to share, especially about my word of the year for the past couple of years and how they have manifested into things that I saw coming and things I didn't see coming, but how every time it just has worked out so perfectly. So anyway, we will get into all of that in a little bit, but I just want to encourage you first to listen to this episode with an open mind, even if you don't believe in manifestation or you never heard of it, or you just think it's like this crazy, silly, made up concept. Just listen with an open mind because you never know what you might learn. So if you're unfamiliar with the concept of manifestation or speaking things into existence, basically manifesting is the act of making your dreams and your goals and your aspirations a reality by believing that you can achieve them. It's basically a testament to the power of positive thinking and directing your thoughts and your actions towards a desired outcome. Now, manifesting is not as simple as saying, I want to be a millionaire and I'm going to be a millionaire. And then one day you're a millionaire. If it were that simple, wouldn't we all have everything that we wanted? That is not what manifesting is. I feel like a lot of times that is what it's seen for on the surface level. There is definitely a balance between putting in real work and effort towards the goals and the dreams and the visions that you have for yourself. There's a balance between putting in the work to do that, between getting your mindset and your attitude shifted into this positive state and kind of releasing the fact that you only have so much control and just kind of releasing and saying what will be, and what's meant for me will come to me. So it's a combination of all those things, a combination of work, a combination of mindset, and a combination of just kind of releasing and letting go and knowing that you did your part and hoping and believing that the rest will fall into place. If you want to learn more about the details and the intricacies of manifesting, like what it is, how to do it, I have an excellent book recommendation for you. The book is written by Roxy Nafusi, and it's called Manifest: 7 Steps to Living Your Best Life. It's available in hard copy and audio version as well. I will leave the links for both of those below in the show notes, but Roxy does an amazing job at kind of breaking down what exactly manifestation is and how to do it at a very detailed level. She literally gives you 7 steps on how to do it. The book is just so amazing. It really helps you kind of shift your mindset and your understanding on how to work hard, but also have trust and belief that what you're working hard for, you deserve, and it will come to you if you put in the right amount of work for it. So, anyway, really, really recommend that book. Again, it's called Manifest 7 Steps to Living Your Best Life, and I will link it below for you. I think manifestation, the law of attraction, affirmations, mantras, everything kind of under that umbrella, I think oftentimes it gets overlooked or it's criticized for being too woo woo or spiritual or silly, just kind of like make believe. But what I think people don't realize is how truly powerful our brains are, but more specifically, how powerful our subconscious brain is. Did you know that your subconscious mind is responsible for 90 to 95% of your daily activities? That is crazy. 90 to 95% of your daily activities are operated under your subconscious mind. Your brain is incredibly smart, but it's also incredibly lazy. And what I mean by lazy is your brain craves and survives on routine and repetition and comfortability. So when I say lazy, I mean that your brain naturally is going to want to do what's comfortable because what's comfortable is equated to safety. Your brain is always going to choose safe over risk because that is just a basic survival mechanism. So whether the thing that you are doing because it's comfortable, whether it's good or bad, your brain is going to choose that thing that is repetitive, that's comfortable, that it's used to anytime over something that feels uncomfortable. Like I said, even if that thing that is uncomfortable is better for you, it is going to choose the thing that feels more comfortable because ultimately at the end of the day, that equals safety and safety equals survival. Something else that's super interesting about your brain is it believes what you tell it. It does not understand the difference between what's real and what is not or what's made up. Like your brain does not understand the physiological difference between being very stressed about having to give a presentation versus being very stressed about running away from a physical threat. Physiologically, your brain and your body are going to have the same response. You're going to have that same fight or flight response, whether you're anxious about that presentation or anxious about being chased down the street in the middle of the night. So your brain does not, in that manner, your brain does not understand reality versus the reality that you tell it. So if you tell your brain, I'm scared, I'm anxious, all these things, your brain actually is going to believe it. But if you tell your brain, I'm happy, I'm calm, I'm grateful, your brain will believe that too. It does not understand what is really happening versus the reality you're making up in your head. And just to give you an example of this, I heard about this study that was done about gluten intolerance. So in the past 10 years, there's been a huge increase in the population of people who choose not to consume gluten. And it's estimated it's about 30% of the population in the United States does not consume gluten, which is so interesting that there's been this huge increase in people who are choosing not to eat gluten in the past 10 years. So they wanted to do a study on this and understand why this was happening. And obviously there's so many things that go into that, but this study was specifically done on trying to understand kind of the power of your brain and what you're told or the information that you're fed. So they actually took people and they were given meals, and the meals they were told this has gluten or this doesn't have gluten, even if it did or did not, but they were told one thing or the other. And it's so interesting because they would give people a meal and it did not have any gluten in it, but they were told this contains gluten, and the participants would eat it and immediately proceed to get physically sick, even though the meal did not have gluten in it, but they were told that it did. So that is a really interesting find. There was also another study done about elderly people, and they were asked to use words to describe how they feel about getting older. And the people that used words like death, illness, limitations, like kind of those negatively associated words, versus the people that used words like growth, wisdom, relationships, opportunities, there was a clear difference between the people that used those positive words versus the negative words associated with aging. And it actually had a direct correlation on how long those people lived. So that just goes to show you the power of your words and how that can really impact your brain and your life and your reality. So that's just a little bit of science, a little bit of data for you before I start telling you my own personal stories and experiences. I guess it's sort of a way for me to kind of like validate myself and validate my stories, because to be quite honest with you, probably about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, I did not believe in any of this stuff. I looked at people like they had a third eyeball on their forehead when they would talk about manifesting and the power of a positive attitude. I kind of just thought it was a bunch of BS, to be honest with you. And now I completely, fully believe all of this stuff. So that is why I like to give you a little bit of the real, like, science behind your brain and why it is the way it is before just telling you my own personal story, because I know me, 6, 7 years ago, I would not have even bothered to listen to someone's personal story without hearing more like proof, I guess. So anyway, I really didn't start to get into this kind of stuff until I decided I wanted to start my own business and become an entrepreneur. And naturally, I think the people in the entrepreneurial small business type of space, you have to have a positive mindset. You have to be mentally tough in order to be an entrepreneur or run a business. So I started consuming and seeing more of that type of content when I decided that was the path I wanted to take for myself. And it definitely took me time to warm up to that. So I basically just decided, like, what the heck, I will just see what this is all about. And if it's a bunch of BS, it's a bunch of BS. And I can say I tried it. But if not, I mean, what could it actually hurt? So the first real example I have of kind of manifestation or speaking things into existence is when I started my business. I was still working a full-time job, but I knew for sure that I was going to be a business owner. I started making jewelry and I just had this light bulb moment of, this is exactly what I'm meant to do. And this is how I'm going to leave my full-time job, like full stop. I knew it. There was something deep down in me that knew that was going to be my path. And I just felt it so deeply in my bones. But at the time, I maybe had like 100 followers on Instagram. I wasn't making any sales. Like, this was a brand new thing to me, but I just knew in my heart that this was going to be my path. And I think I just had the attitude of, this is what I'm meant to do. I'm so passionate about it and I don't have a choice. I'm just going to make it work no matter what that looks like. And in order to make it work, I really had to have that mindset. But again, when I talked about manifesting before, it's a balance of having the right mindset, but also putting in the work. And then just kind of letting the rest go and believing that it's all going to work out as you hope. It might not all work out exactly as you plan, but it will work out. So it's kind of a balance between those things. And at the time, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. But now looking back, that's exactly what I was doing. I was kind of juggling all of those things, juggling the work, juggling getting my mind right, and juggling letting it be what it will be. So, something that I started doing when I got my business started, and again, I was working a full-time job. And when you're out and you meet people and they ask you what you do, I would always tell people, or I would always introduce myself as I'm a business owner, or I'm a jeweler, or something along those lines. Like I would always say that, even though it wasn't my full-time job, even though it was a small side hustle at the time. But I knew that if I put that forefront of my mind, forefront of my conversations, and made it known to people that, hey, this is what I do, that it would be true. And it wasn't a lie, because I was a business owner and I was a jeweler. Maybe it wasn't what I was doing full time, or it's not how I made my full-time income, but it was absolutely true. And by me saying that over and over, and by me introducing myself in that way, I truly see that as a form of manifestation and speaking that into existence, because just 2.5 years later, it did happen. And I was able to leave my full-time job and run my business full-time. That is a perfect example of how what you say really does impact your actions, your thoughts, and your reality ultimately. Because I so truly believed that I'm going to tell people this. This is how I'm going to identify. This is the answer to the question of, oh, I'm so-and-so. What do you do? That is how I answered that question. And by me saying it more and more, I was programming my brain. And after a while, it just became subconscious, because like I said, your brain loves repetition. Your brain believes what you tell it. You can take that example and use that in your own life. What is something that you truly want to achieve? Or what do you want to be? How do you want to be? Whatever that thing is, just start saying it matter-of-factly. This is a good example of kind of like the fake it till you make it type of attitude. And again, I wasn't faking it, because I actually was a business owner and was a jeweler. It wasn't my full-time thing, but I was just sort of being like, yes, I'm confident. This is what I do, until it actually became like, oh yeah, this is actually what I do. So having that like fake it till you make it type of attitude, or fake it until you become it type of attitude, that is what's really going to help propel you forward. And again, kind of program your subconscious mind to truly believe that. The next example I have of kind of this whole journey of manifestation and speaking things into existence is in the form of my word of the year. So for the past few years, I have picked a word of the year. So if you're unfamiliar with having a word of the year, basically you pick a word of the year instead of picking like a goal or a resolution or something like that. Your word is more of like an umbrella term. So it's more of like a vibe or a feeling, or just the way you want to be throughout the year. And that will help guide you in making the right decisions, in setting goals and things of that nature. But it's not so strict where like a goal is, I want to make $100,000. And if you don't make $100,000, it's like, oh, I didn't meet my goal. But if you have a word of the year and your word is abundance, You may start out the year thinking abundance is in the form of money, but throughout your year, you may be like, well, you know what? I may not be making as much money as I want, but I have a lot of free time, or I am so healthy and I feel so abundant in my health or in the time that I am getting to spend with my friends and my family. There's just kind of more wiggle room for you to adjust when you have a word of the year as opposed to having very strict goals. I think it also helps just kind of guide you and helps you to stay on track throughout the year, while again allowing for that flexibility and adaptation as your life changes. Okay, so at the start of 2022, I picked my word for the year, and my word for 2022 was elevate. So I'm going to read you what I wrote on Instagram about why I chose the word elevate. For me, 2021 brought a lot of growth. It was the type of growth that tore me apart and challenged me in almost every single way. It was the kind of growth that made me feel like I was just trying to keep my head above water. In 2022, my growth will continue, but this year it will be with intention. I turned 30 this year, and there are so many things I am ready to take to the next level. Elevate means to rise above, to level up, to move forward with purpose and intention. That is what I plan to do with every aspect of my life this year. After the terrible year I had last year, I am ready. For some context, I had a pretty crazy emotional 2021. I lost several family members in the year 2021. My boyfriend had some very serious health issues that were long lasting and very impactful in the year 2021. It was just overall a very, very difficult year. However, there were a lot of great things that happened in 2021 as well. I was able to pay off some of my student loans. I was able to quit my full-time job and go full-time with my business. We got our first dog in 2021. So it was definitely a very roller coaster of emotions type of year. It really tested me and pulled me in a lot of different directions. It was really tough. It was a very, very tough year, a year of a lot of growth. So at the start of 2022, I was like, okay, I am so ready to kind of get out of this survival mode and shift into a mode of thriving. And that is why I chose the word elevate. I was like, I am just ready to level up in any and all areas of my life. I'm ready for it. After the shit year I had in 2021, I am ready to have the most amazing year in 2022. In 2022, just kind of bird's eye view, that was the best year I've ever had in business. I made more money than I ever have. I was so busy, like all these opportunities were coming to me. It was just so amazing. My boyfriend and I bought our first house. His health issues cleared up. We got another dog. Like it was a really great year. Lots of amazing things happened. I turned 30. I felt really good, really confident about turning 30. Overall, it was just a really good year. But by the time the end of the year rolled around, oh my God, I was so burnt out because of all the go that I did in 2022. Oh, and I also in 2022, I quit drinking, which I talked a little bit about in last week's episode. But overall, it definitely was a year of leveling up, like 100%. So let me read to you my Instagram post at the end of the year where I recapped how my word of the year kind of came to fruition. My word for 2022 was elevate. That word manifested in ways I couldn't have even imagined. I elevated just about everything about myself and my life. I climbed mountains I didn't know I could. I grew in ways I didn't know I wanted to. And I achieved goals I could have only dreamed of a few years ago. However, what I didn't realize is that elevation also comes with isolation. It was a rewarding year for me, but also a very lonely year. I've made changes and have chased growth on the roads less traveled. If you are in a season of change or growth, it's okay to feel lonely, but please know you aren't alone. Hard times are temporary, growth is uncomfy, and the best views come after the hardest climbs. Keep going. So I think I was being a little vague there, but what I was getting at in saying that with elevation comes isolation is I worked so hard. I achieved all of these goals I had set out for myself. I took the road less traveled, meaning I chose my business over, going out and having fun. I decided to quit drinking in order to better myself and to level up. That was definitely a way to elevate my life. But with doing those type of things comes a little bit of loneliness and a little bit of isolation. And there's this really interesting analogy about how mountaintops are small for a reason. Like the climb up to the top is very challenging, and the top of a mountain is small because not many people make it up there. One, there's just not enough room for everybody up there all at once. So to elevate yourself to that level is going to be isolating. And it's so small at the tip of a mountain. It's not meant to be, you're not meant to stay there for long. You're meant to get up there, enjoy the view for a moment, and then you work your way back down and climb the next one. So I think what I am wanting to share here is that I chose a word for 2022 and I let that be my guidance for the year. And it manifested itself in so many different ways I expected and ways I didn't. And I think that's life. I think, I'm a big believer that good things and bad things are always going to happen in life. And there's always a lesson to be learned from everything that happens to us. And so that word, because I kept it so forefront throughout the year, it really did take form and mold into this thing that summarized my year in ways I expected and ways I didn't. And I 100% elevated. I leveled up my life in so many ways. But again, I also talked about the repercussions of that and how it equated to me feeling kind of lonely and kind of isolated. So I think that's just really interesting to have a word of the year and to kind of go back at the end of the year and reflect on it and see how keeping that word at the forefront of your decision making and your actions and your mindset really can have a day-to-day impact on how your year turns out and ultimately how your life turns out. So I will give you another example and we will go into 2023. So in 2023, my word for the year was inspire. And here is what I wrote. My intentions for this year are to spread light and positivity with every action I take and every interaction I have. I hope to not only inspire others, but to also be inspired myself. I've been working so hard, dare I say too hard, over the past few years, and I have felt time slipping away so quickly. This year, I want to take more time for me. That is how I started out 2023. I mentioned I got so burnt out from elevating so high in the year 2022. I worked really hard. I did a lot of inner work and development, self-development, and improving myself. And it really just kind of all caught up with me at the end of 2022. So the start of the year was a major lack of motivation, self-confidence. To be quite honest with you, I just really felt depressed, lost, and purposeless. I really lost my sense of direction in 2023. I think I let everything that happened to me in 2021, I kind of just shoved it down and I worked it away in 2022. And I was just like, you know what? If I work so hard, I can forget about it and not have to deal with it. And it all caught up with me. And so in 2023, I was forced to sit and feel everything that happened to me over the past 2 years that I just didn't take the time to deal with. So I ultimately kind of picked myself back up, tried to find the motivation again, and just kind of trucked through 2023. It definitely wasn't the best year, but it wasn't a bad year. It was just kind of like a so okay year for me. I did go on a really amazing trip that I think really fueled my fire and allowed me to find joy and passion and purpose and meaning again. I went to Italy for 5 weeks in the summer of 2023, and that was just so needed. Like, I can't even tell you how good for the soul that trip was. It was so amazing. I think I'm going to do an episode to actually recap that trip and talk about it in more detail. But after that trip, I just did a big kind of reevaluation of everything I had gone through over the past few years and went back to my word of the year and looked at that and did a reevaluation on that. So fast forward to the end of 2023, here is my Instagram recap of my word of the year. My word for 2023 was inspire. I started out 2023 with big intentions, but quickly realized how burnt out and beaten up I was. 2022 kicked my ass in the best ways, but it pushed me to limits that I wasn't prepared for. So the start of 2023 looked like a lot of self-doubt, questioning my worth, value, future, and a lot of introspection. I finally made the decision to get back up when I felt so far knocked down. I didn't feel like it, but I did it anyway. I ended up having another great year with my business. I got to take an incredibly rejuvenating 5-week vacation to Italy. I rekindled my love for photography. I dreamed up new ideas and possibilities for my future, and I finally found a way to enjoy my life instead of working myself into the ground. It turns out my word of 2023 was exactly what I needed. I set out to inspire others, but what I really needed was to be inspired myself. My word of the year kind of manifested in a way that I didn't expect, but it still manifested and it still stuck true to my actions and the outcome of my year, which I just think is so fascinating. If you are not choosing a word of the year, you 100% should, because it is so powerful and the impact it can have on your life is so amazing. Again, it might not have the impact that you expect it to, but it will manifest itself into your life. And I think that's just a testament to the power of, kind of having this guiding direction and this thought or this intention, and how sticking true to that and how keeping that in the back of your brain will make it come to fruition. These are just a couple of examples of how I think speaking things into the universe and keeping them forefront of all of the decisions you make and the thoughts you have and the actions you choose for yourself, it really is powerful. And to use that power of your subconscious and to train your brain to believe what you tell it, it really does work. And it's something that takes practice. It's something that takes introspection and patience. But trust me, what you believe, you can absolutely achieve. I feel like I have rambled a lot in this episode, so hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down. I am just very passionate about having a positive attitude and a positive mindset, because it truly does make an impact on your day-to-day life. I just wish everybody understood that if they truly put their mind to something, put in the hard work, and actually believe that you can achieve it, you would achieve it and you will achieve it. You just have to believe. And you, like I said, you have to put in the work. You have to believe you can do it. And then you have to be okay with letting things happen as they will. Because as you saw with my words of the year, they absolutely did come true and they manifested, not necessarily in the ways I expected them to, but they manifested, and I learned such a valuable lessons from them every time. Just know that what you say, what you believe will become your reality. And I know it's easy to get caught up in the trap of feeling like you're not worthy or feeling like you can't do something. But trust me, you just have to fake it until you make it, or fake it until you become it. I wanted to do this episode to kind of set up a series that I'm going to be starting. I am going to be doing a series of morning affirmations. We didn't really talk a whole lot about affirmations in this episode, but I think I touched on the concept, right? Where what you tell your brain, it believes. And when you tell your brain that over and over and over again, it's ultimately going to be programmed into your subconscious, and your brain doesn't know the difference between what's actually real and what you tell it is real. So affirmations can be so powerful too in helping you to become who you want to become and achieve what you want to achieve, because by telling your brain, I am smart, I am powerful, I am successful, like when you say that over and over again and you believe what you're saying, your brain will believe you. So I am going to be doing a series of morning affirmations episodes. They'll be like 10 minutes long, and you can just kind of use these episodes and play them whenever you want. Like listen to them in the morning when you're getting ready, or on your drive to work, or on your hot girl walk, whatever. Listening to these affirmations and repeating them out loud really has the potential to change your whole life. All right, I am going to leave you with a very powerful quote. I repeat this quote to almost everybody I meet and everybody I know. I say it on repeat all the time. It's by the author Jen Sincero. She writes the You Are a Badass series. So the first book is You Are a Badass, and then she writes You Are a Badass at Making Money and some other ones. Definitely check them out. But this quote, I think, is from You Are a Badass at Making Money. She says, "What comes out of your mouth comes into your life. So choose your words wisely." So let that quote sink in with you today, and be on the lookout for my morning affirmations episodes coming very soon. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope that this episode leaves you feeling inspired and ready to manifest the life of your dreams. Thanks so much, y'all, and I will see you next week.